Hi, and welcome to another Thoughts on Leadership. This month, I want to talk to you about this economic turmoil that we've been through. Many say that we're heading in for a double dip, and before we go any further, I think that this month's Thoughts on Leadership is going to be a good question for you to think about. And it is this: recession is not over until we have learnt the lessons. Have you learnt the lessons? Now, there's a couple of lessons that I'm talking about here. First of all, how did you go about dealing with the situation when you knew that the recession was starting? Because a lot of people did knee-jerk stuff. A lot of people just immediately went into slashing and cutting and all the rest of it. I'm not saying those are the wrong things to do, but I'm saying that there's a balance here needed, and I'll come back to that. And also, as you've developed through the recession, what have you done? What are the mistakes you've made? And have you taken the time now to learn from those mistakes? Because there's no point in going through all of this if we don't take time to reflect back and say, what did we learn? What would we do differently? And if there was another recession, or if this is going to be a double dip, what would we do next time? So think about the way that from the very beginning, you, your management team, the people around you, whatever it was in your organization, you must have sat down and started thinking about it. Think about the decision-making process you went through. Think about your approach to the whole thing. Was it very defensive? Was it very batten down the hatches and let's just see if we can survive? In other words, go into a survival mode. Or did you balance it correctly? So yes, we have to batten down the hatches. Yes, we may have to make cuts. And a recession is a great time, as I've said many, many times over the last couple of years. It's a great time to get rid of some of those projects that you've been playing around with that weren't in line with your business and all the rest of it. But think about how you went through the decision-making process of dealing with that. Did you handle it well? Could you have handled it better? Also, did you balance that cutting back with planning what and how you were going to deal with things going forward? Let me give you an example of what I mean. A lot of people went about firing, getting rid of what they thought was excess people. But the way they went about it, has meant that now that they were coming out of that recession, those that remained in the business were very unnerved by the approach the organization took. So they're now sat there going, well, hang on a minute, I have to sit with the company because I don't want to lose my job and I can't afford to lose my job. But you know something, now we're coming out of it, they're starting to say, right, this is not a very good place to work. Because if we go back into another recession, maybe I'm going to be on the chopping block. I want to work for a company that values me. So how did you go about cutting and cutting back? Did you involve people in some of the cutting back that needed to take place? And I'm not talking about jobs, I'm now talking about some of the procedures and processes and things that you had to stop doing. Did you involve people in the discussion of it? Did you get their ideas? Because a lot of the savings you can make in your organization will come from the people within your organization. So the more you've involved them in that process, the more they feel that this is a great place to be, and the more they're prepared to work hard to come through it. And more importantly, when we come out of it, they're more committed to the organization. So just go back to that early stages and think about it. Think about also how you have dealt with some of the problems through the process. Were you slow in your decision making? Did you take too long or were you more decisive? And these are important things. You need to reflect, learn. Was there some members of your management team who were better at it than others? What can you learn from that whole process? So this month we've got some good questions for you, as always. And these are the questions that I want to ask you this month. Have you evaluated your own performance, you as the leader and your organization, in how you dealt with the planning for the recession and the way you went about doing it? What would you do differently? If you were able to relive this whole thing again, go back in time and relive it, what would you have done differently? And more importantly, if we are, heaven forbid, but if we are running into another recession, then what are you going to do this time? Okay? You don't want to waste that opportunity as well, but you also want to rise to it. Bear in mind that some of the greatest businesses have started in recessions. More ideas, more businesses have been generated that are coming out of a recession, out of difficult times, than have come out of easy times. Okay, so what are you going to do? How are you going to gear your organization going forward if there was another recession? And one of the great things you can do is by going back and learning the lessons from the last couple of years. I hope those thoughts for this month have given you something to think about and given you something to discuss with your management team. I hope that your business is picking up. I do hope that we're not going into another recession, but if anything does go wrong, I hope that you're getting prepared for it and this helps in some way. Have a great month and see you next month. Bye for now.